After looking foolish, and probably still am, for doing this kind of video many years ago, well, actually, not really years ago, probably last year, I vowed myself that I wouldn't make any kind of political video on this channel, but honestly, after what I just witnessed, I have to talk about it. So, as many of y'all know, or may not know, on Jon Stewart, who's no longer part of The Daily Show, who's barely even gone on there. I think he's only been on The Daily Show once, and that was just to talk about the 9/11 first responders bill that he and others were trying to co-sponsor for years, and it came up in 2011, 10 years after 9/11. And after 9/11, and he kept pushing for advocacy for these guys. So much so that he asked officers, army officers, people associated with the military, he asked a non-profit corporation to send over some military people to his show, and he would give them all a tour. That program was talked about in a retirement video for Jon Stewart. There were two of them. I think one was, it was Jon Stewart left the building, and the other one was like how the talk show host took over America or something. It was a Bloomberg documentary about Game Changers, Jon Stewart, and in both of them, they talk about how he was a man who, when it came to gifts from people, he really didn't like it. Like, he didn't accept it. He was a guy who doesn't exactly accept gifts all the time because he believes he doesn't deserve them. So it came as a huge shock to him when, just about a day after he made a speech in front of Congress calling out the greed that several congressmen had. He wasn't just talking to the people in that chamber. He was talking to all of Congress. And he was in the House. He was in the House talking about making the bill permanent. And it was a permanent, and the part of the bill that was being talked about was the victim compensation bill. It was a victim compensation bill for the 9/11 first responders who went in, had smoke in their lungs, got all kinds of cancer, and for a while, no one even believed that these guys were infected. It's like the first time it happened where they got sick, it's like, oh, it's not because of the smoke. And then later on, as the evidence became more clear, okay, you have cancer, but it's not because of the smoke. And then when it became too late for Ray Pfiefer of the NYPD, finally, he dies. Okay, it's because of 9/11. Fine. But it's a New York problem. A New York problem. Okay. 9/11 took place in New York. But as Jon Stewart quoted, Al-Qaeda didn't attack Tribeca. They attacked America. They were attacking the symbol of economic progress, which was the World Trade Center. That was a huge symbol for America. And the fact of the matter is, it wasn't just some random attack. It wasn't just an attack on Tribeca. First off, Muslims wouldn't be specifically talking about New York except as a way to attack America. They were attacking the heart of America. And New York was one of its original capitals. Let's think about that clearly. So they weren't just talking about New York. They were attacking America. And because of that act, we believed it was an attack on America. We went to war over this. And now there are people who advocate for this war, who are trying to redact their claim that it's a New York problem. No, it's not. There were 5 places that were attacked: Pennsylvania, New York, the Pentagon, actually there was going to be one towards the White House. There was going to be an airplane attack at the White House, I believe. But they shifted direction and it was somewhere else. And then, of course, the World Trade Center. 2 planes into the World Trade Center. 5 airplanes. 2 of them hit the World Trade Center. One of them ends up going somewhere else and ends up in a plane in Pennsylvania. Then there's another which attacks the Pentagon. How much more explicit do you have to get? This isn't a New York problem. They attacked 5 different places. 4 if you count the World Trade Center as one, basically. So yeah, this isn't a New York problem. But yeah, now to get to the actual point. So, Donald Trump. I don't think all the Trump officials have really talked about this, except for the fact that Jon Stewart called out Congress for the corporate greed that ensued when this bill was introduced. There wasn't just there was a bill that was introduced all the way back as 2011, as well. I think years prior too. I think it was like 2007 possibly. But yeah, point being that they introduced this bill. It's not made permanent. You have to renew it 5 years later. And so they come back. And it's about to run out in 2020. Its funding is going to end in 2020. And he calls out the fact that there was no no funding. It's just going to run out again. 3 times he goes to Congress. Well, actually, yeah, 3 times. Once to introduce the bill. It was on the Daily Show, I believe, is when they try to go to Congress and they talk about it. The second time was the Trevor Noah show, where he comes in on one of the episodes and he goes with the members of Congress to try to renew the bill and try to keep it going. And then this is the 3rd time. The 3rd time they go to Congress. And Jon Stewart basically says something in the lines of, look at this. A nearly empty room. A whole row of people missing. And somebody in the Senate is going to use this bill to play political football and somebody in the Senate is going to use this bill as a political football to get another oil tax or something, or like a tax, but like an oil tax, because that happened in 2016. We're not going to let that happen. We are not going to let that happen. Quoted by Jon Stewart. And then the nerve of this entire meeting is that people try to claim that this speech was staged. Are you fucking kidding me? The only thing that could be staged about it is the fact that they had 3 different times they had to say this. They could have made it permanent 5 years ago. They could have made it permanent when it first came out. They could have made the victims' compensation bill permanent so that none of these firefighters didn't have the care that they need for the cancer that was enveloping in their lungs. And he even called out the fact that a lot of the people that were in the house, said, never forget the heroes of 9/11. Never forget their service. Well, here they are. to quote Jon Stewart. So yeah, you better believe I was pissed when I first heard about this, but then the beauty of today. I go on to Now This News, a YouTube channel, a YouTube channel that talks about the news, presumably. Well, no doubt. I go on there, and apparently, because Donald Trump has been one of the only advocates for the EMYD first 9/11 first responders, along with Ray Pfiefer, were the only advocates for these guys. And as a gift to him, some of the firefighters held an auction for Ray Pfiefer's jacket. One of the buyers was a man named John Bleal, I believe. John Bleal, possibly. And he buys the jacket in its entirety. Well, John Bleal and the firefighters present Ray Pfiefer's jacket to Jon Stewart. And in that speech, when they were presenting it to him, they said, when I was working with these guys, I learned brotherhood, camaraderie, John wanted Jon Stewart to accept this, to give this to him. And Jon Stewart said, I don't deserve this, but I will treasure it like I treasured my friendship with Ray Pfiefer. Thank you. I wanted to talk about that because I just heard about it today. Like, just earlier today. And I haven't seen anyone else talk about it. So, yeah. That is just about the best thing that could have come out of today. After seeing all the political shit that goes on. With Matt Gaetz, representative of Florida, 1st District of Florida. And here I am living in Florida. With Matt Gaetz as my representative. Well, not mine, but you get the picture. He's representing Florida in the dumbest way possible. Anyway, that's all I wanted to talk about. Other than making this an update for my channel, I will be doing Fire Emblem Radiant Dawn again. I don't expect a lot of you to watch it. I don't expect a lot of you to watch this, or watch it, or to check out the news that have been coming up lately, but I just wanted to give my opinion about it, and that is it. So, this is Victor Hale from Hailstorm Gaming, signing off. I hope more news like this gets out there. And I hope we can save net neutrality as well. Because, despite the bill happening, there haven't been clear signs of it being implemented yet, which is a good thing. It's a good thing that there haven't been many instances of throttling, unless, of course, the evidence proves it. So I'm glad that at least I can still do my streaming. If not, then I'll hopefully see you guys tomorrow. Have a good day.